Hey, Masters of Speed, it's Terramaster and Drake, and welcome back to Coper Hope. Deck lists are here for reptiles and what is it called? Abidos vampires.
Yep. Cold-blooded tactician.
Cold-blooded tactician. All right, so the skill is obviously cold-blooded tactician, and this deck is called. You have to use this name if you play it. We're trademarking that. A reptile dysfunction. So make of that what you will. Okay, yep. Jake, tell us about the deck you built.
Okay, so I tried my best to utilize the skill, put as many good reptiles in as possible. There's only like 8 reptiles in Speed Duel, so that means I gotta play Yugioh as one of them, which, you know, I'm always okay with running Justy Breaks, which also work with your trap monsters, which are also reptiles. Neat.
Yep.
I needed to run some more monsters, so I got kind of cute with it and used like a little water engine here, which makes sense when you get to the sideboard. Other than that, the water monsters in the main, not great. Creature swap can be good with like Mother Grizzly, otherwise not so much. Heat Wave works with your trap monsters, your Yugiohs, and you can just set your other monsters.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the whole main deck really.
Okay.
For the sideboard, we've got a fun little package here. So this Fog King is just a decent card if they're playing like Cyber Angels. It can be okay against vampires, but you need to tribute summon it to get value out of it, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a Mother Grizzly target. The next card is another Mother Grizzly target. I find this card pretty funny. Against Cyber Angels, you can normal summon this, and they can just play their Night Beams and stuff, and you let them resolve usually. But then if they go to play their Machine Angel Ritual, you can just negate it with this card. And again, it's a Mother Grizzly target.
Yep. Okay.
Sinister Serpent. We saw this one actually put in a little bit of work.
It did. Yeah. It's here for the package, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a water monster. It's a Mother Grizzly target, and it works with our trap that we'll get to in a second.
Yep. But first...
Faustian Bargain, I don't know. I throw that in all my vanilla decks. It's not great.
It's not
good against Cyber Angels.
Yep.
Sealing Ceremony. Okay, this was probably the MVP of the whole deck.
Yep.
In this matchup.
In this matchup, yeah, for sure.
So it is once per turn. It is only from the hand that you have to send to water. I wish it was hand or field, but yeah, you just get to banish one of your opponent's monsters in grave. Yep. That's not bad. Yeah, DD Crow once per turn. It really isn't a bad card. And it works especially well with Sinister Serpent because you pitch the Serpent, you bring back the Serpent.
Yep.
You can do it in theory over and over again. If you use it 2 turns in a row, the Serpent does banish. But
you know, if you need
got
to,
your value out of it.
Yeah.
If you're banishing 2 vampire cards, you usually got your value out of it at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so this was the other reason I ran so many waters, is because I could pitch any of my monsters to work with that card.
Yep. Okay, now we had an idea for this deck yesterday after we played. Do you remember what it was?
No.
I don't either.
Okay, well, I would honestly say, if you really want to play the cold-blooded tactician skill, you probably just don't play Mother Grizzlies, Yomi ships.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe play a 3rd Gale Lizard. It's another reptile.
Yeah.
That's really my only main idea.
Yeah. That seems.
Oh, and creature swap's bad.
Yeah, creature swap didn't really put in much work here. Oh, I know. Okay. You play it with Droroid, okay?
Okay.
The trap monsters are your only reptiles, and you're switching stuff to defense mode with special summoned monsters, right? So your normal summon can be Droroid.
Yeah, this deck may be better. Maybe we'll see one day.
Yeah, maybe we'll see one day. So yeah, this is called Drill Reptoid. Please submit better names in the comments. Thanks.
Please.
Okay. All right. Now this deck, since Abidos is like the first sarcophagus or whatever, I call this deck the first curse. Yep. It should obviously have more curse, but it's called the first curse, so you can only play once. Limit one. There you go. The original curse. Okay. You play your monarchs, right? Let me sort it a little bit. You got your 3 monarchs. This should obviously be probably more curse and maybe a lord. You could potentially even play like 2 edge if you wanted to. But yeah, obviously you need your 6 vampires. That's your tribute fodder, right? That's essentially like each one of these is a tribute summon. Is a good way to think about it. Because it's like, if they summon themselves as a special summon, then you tribute over them for whatever it is you actually want. And then they banish when they do that, right? So in an entire game, in a speed duel, to have 6 monsters that just say, tribute summon a monster, that's pretty good. Especially when they don't neg you at all, because they will search a card on their summon if you want to. So it's actually tribute summoning without going minus, which is really good. So yeah, play more monarchs is the first change to the deck. 2 book. Obviously, you could play 3. I just didn't because this was a Twisted Personality deck converted to an Abidos deck. I will confess. There you go. Double Cyclone is for the first sarcophagus. You saw the games I lost. This was stuck on my field a lot. So Drake did suggest to play more Double Cyclone.
Yeah, I was actually surprised you only played 1.
Yep. Yeah, definitely makes sense, I think. Cut the Foolish. We talked about that during the game. Your skill is a free Foolish Burial. You do not need this. Desire is what it is. Awakening is the other vampire spell trap that you want. You saw the One of Shrine can come up. It will come up even more often if I were to play correctly and play more Curse and maybe Lord. So Shrine is really good for those. And then Wabaku is just you saw how Wabaku could be useful too, right? If for some reason you have to leave one of these guys out in the field, you do like having Wabaku to back them up.
There's a few traps you can play in that spot. You could play Wabaku, you could play Zero Gravity, you could play Windstorm.
Yeah. No, all those are solid, and I actually like the thought because Zero Gravity and Windstorm actually kind of have some synergy with Edge. So maybe if you're going to Malicious Edge, you do have more motivation to want the Windstorm. So, or Zero Gravity. But, okay.
I like Zero Gravity countering Zero Gravities.
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah.
That's like a real thing.
Yeah. Or Windstorms from your opponent.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Side deck is just DD Crow for Vampire Mirrors, Spell Canceller for, like I said, Monarchs are very easy, so Spell Canceller for Cyber Angel matchups. And Dust Tornado for heavy back row decks. That, you're like, Jinzo isn't enough because they're on like 3 Shrink or something weird like that. Okay, sure. I have an answer. Yeah. Alright. Do you have any thoughts on this deck? The extra deck's not real.
No, I'll say my thoughts in a second.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I do have to ask the question then, because we're done talking through the decks. Drake,
Yep.
Are these decks cope or hope?
Okay. As long as Twisted Personality is a skill in the format, placed where it is on the limited list, with no more erratas, this deck is cope. However, if that ever changes, this skill could be a replacement skill. This is an option.
Yes.
Obviously, you make some of the changes we suggested, or Terra suggested.
Yes.
But until Twisted Personality goes away, that's just a much better skill. So until then, this deck's cope.
Yeah, I can agree with that. All right, let's move on to a Reptile Dysfunction. What about this one?
This deck is super cope. This might be the copiest deck we've had on yet.
And it won a match.
It did win a match. But there's basically no good reptiles in the format, period.
Yeah.
Gale Lizard is an okay card. It doesn't really synergize with the skill.
No.
Swamp Mirror is also an okay card. You can use it with the skill to potentially attack over like a Vampire Lord or a Jinzo or something like that. But
Yeah.
you using the skill, you're kind of forced into playing a lot of bad cards, even if you optimize it and make some of the changes we talked about earlier to make this more functional than it currently is. I think it would still be pretty bad.
I agree. Yeah, I don't... Like, unless you play that Droid build we briefly showed you earlier, I don't see a way to, like, go pure Reptile. And the biggest problem with that is our Reptile pool is, like, very small and very bad. So you end up having to use trap monsters as the best reptiles available. So that's why, like, my thought was just like, okay, why not just exclusively use the trap monsters, right? Like, just don't play the bad cards that are reptiles at all, right? So, yeah, I mean, we haven't tested this or tried this, so if you guys want to, and let us know how it goes, so we can see if Cold-Blooded Tactician actually has a place in at least some kind of a rogue spot. But
the last thing I want to mention is Sealing Ceremony. We kind of discovered that's actually a good card.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a completely different water deck you can play, citing those. It's good.
Yeah. No, Sealing Ceremony put in a lot of work, and if vampires are going to be like the deck to beat, if that becomes established, then this could be like a hard counter to that. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, that's a good thought.
They contain dust, but that's about it.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, that's all we got for the Cope or Hope for deck list. But come back next week because we're gonna have brand new decks to cope or hope on. Until then, Terramaster and Drake, we're out.